What happened to Barack Obama?
Makes you wonder if some years he paid any taxes at all.
So tax returns, not just the subject of debate, but one of the more interesting ads of the week from the Obama campaign. Let's have a look at it now.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Tax havens, offshore accounts, carried interest. Mitt Romney has used every trick in the book. Romney admits that over the last 2 years, he's paid less than 15% in taxes on $43 million in income. Makes you wonder if some years he paid any taxes at all. We don't know because Romney has released just one full year of his tax returns and won't release anything before 2010.
You know what? I put out as much as we're going to put out.
What is Mitt Romney hiding?
So the point of the ad really is to say, well, there's got to be a reason that he's not releasing his tax return. It's just not that he should do it. It's he's hiding something. But it was also interesting, Laura, because you were watching this ad this week and you wrote about it some. This was a very targeted ad to a very specific audience, at least in its first incarnation.
That's right. It ran in Pittsburgh, where Mitt Romney was going to be in the Pittsburgh area that day, and it was sort of his way of drawing attention to this issue in the media market where Mitt Romney was.
So what was the point of that, to create a storyline for the day's appearance in Pittsburgh?
Absolutely. The idea was to not so much, usually with an advertisement, if you're going to put a lot of money behind an ad, the idea is that people will see it while they're watching TV. In a situation like this, it's almost like a visual press release, only it has more meaning to it because it's a TV ad. So you've got especially local media, but also to some extent national media, focusing on this, asking questions of the Romney folks when they're in their hometown about this ad. So it just helped to further their message and to change the subject to something that was, frankly, friendlier to Obama than to Romney.
Yeah. And so if the Obama campaign ad strategy was to say Mitt Romney must be hiding something because his tax returns won't come out, the Romney counter strategy seemed to be saying there's a reason Barack Obama is so nasty. He's trying to hide something. It's the economy. Let's look at that ad. It's actually an ad from American Crossroads, which is a super PAC supporting Mitt Romney.
American Crossroads is responsible for the content of this advertising. What happened to Barack Obama? The press and even Democrats say his attacks on Mitt Romney's business record are misleading, unfair, and untrue. Blowing smoke. Too far. No evidence. So why's Obama attacking? He's added $4 billion in new debt every single day. Unemployment stuck above 8%. Family incomes falling. Barack Obama can't run on that record.
And, maybe they are trying to divert attention.
Of course they are. The president cannot win an argument if it turns into how's the economy doing. He's trying to make the argument it would have been worse if not for me, but as Barney Frank once pointed out, no one ever got elected with that as a bumper sticker. So not only do we have this high unemployment, but wages aren't going up very much. We got new evidence of that this week. And the Romney campaign is desperately trying to put that back in the center of or their supporters as well, back in the center of the campaign, so far with very little success.
Yeah.
Well, and the Romney campaign has said from the start that every day they're not talking about the economy is a missed opportunity. That's how they want to spend every day. And so they've had a lot of missed opportunities in recent days. And so Obama has managed to shift the conversation. And instead of talking about the jobs numbers, they're talking about the tax returns and outsourcing and that type of thing. And I think the Romney campaign is starting to feel like there have been a lot of missed opportunities.
Yeah. One of the interesting conversations that I was in on this week was with President Obama's chief pollster, who was asked the question of the metrics, the economic metrics, and how nobody's ever won with an unemployment rate this high. And his answer was, well, those truisms are always true until they're not true anymore, and that people kind of understand how bad it really was, and so therefore they're adjusting their expectations for the president because they know that we're dealing with a new reality. That's going to be an interesting test in November. It might be true, it might not be true.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty heroic argument to make. It doesn't matter what the number is, it matters people's attitude. And our polls and the latest New York Times poll point to the same thing. When you ask people how they think the president's doing on foreign policy, they're generally positive. When they ask how's he doing on the economy, they're generally negative, and they're not optimistic about the economy. And the downshift in economic growth we saw Ben Bernanke talking about this week is not a plus for the president when it makes that discussion.
Right, which is exactly exactly why Barack Obama wants the conversation to be about something else.
But you know, I don't think this can last. In the end, we're going to get to November, and it's going to be a conversation about the economy. I think it's kind of like what's the background and what's the context in which people view Mitt Romney. But you know, you can't really avoid it, I suspect.
Right. But I mean, if they can get to the conventions with the race still basically even, you know, and Romney not having used these months to pull ahead or to define himself, then I think Obama starts essentially the final stretch of the campaign in a much stronger position than he might have.
I think that's true. You know, I mean, this is the time where the challenger sort of builds himself up, and you know, at this point, John Kerry was leading George W. Bush, right? I mean, so how that movie turned out. Right. In fact, this is probably that same race being rerun with the party's roles reversed.
Right. I mean, Romney has to convince people to fire Obama, but he also has to convince people to hire him. And at this point, he's not really making the case to hire him in some ways, because he's not talking about himself very much. He's not talking about his plans very much. He's left a lot of things unsaid. So the question is whether he can convince voters to hire him.